A lot of people don't believe Adam and Eve existed. But logically, the first man and woman would have to exist, okay? We wouldn't exist if the first man and woman didn't exist, all right? So, logic states Adam and Eve existed, all right, because the first man and woman had to exist, all right? Now, people are like, well, they couldn't have populated the whole world. I mean, you know, two people, yada, 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 and all this. I mean, the genes and, you know, inbreeding and all that. Well, if they were the first Cro-Magnon, man and woman, then obviously there were still Neanderthal on the planet that survived extinction. Okay? Because there's always going to be survivors of every extinction. There's always the cockroaches that come out of the cracks. Okay? So, with that being said, that explains why a lot of people, or almost everybody, has Neanderthal genes. Because they were just bred out. They weren't extinct. They did go extinct, but there were still survivors. And those few survivors were bred out with the Cro-Magnon, because the genes are so close and the chromosomes are close enough to create a hybrid would basically be a Cro-Magnon human. You know, they would be a regular human that we'd see today. Okay? Now, if you think they have more Neanderthal genes, come on. Haven't you seen some stupid people around here? I mean, haven't you ever met a stupid person in your life? Maybe they got a little more Neanderthal in them than most, you know? Or they got the big 5 head or something, you know? But anyway, what I'm saying is there were still people left, and they have found that we get our immune systems from Neanderthal, you know? That's where letting them survive and thrive before you extinct them comes in hand. Because if you're going to create a species on a planet, you can't just drop them in full form onto a planet, okay? If they're not adapted to that environment and that atmosphere, it's going to kill them, or they'd be suffering slowly, maybe even an agonizing or sickly kind of death or something. You know, they'd have some kind of sickness. You know, we get altitude sickness, okay? Imagine planetary sickness, you know, like going from Earth to Mars and without a suit, you know? So you would have to start small. And if you're going to talk about God and, you know, and people and all that, God would create an animal to adapt. Without adaptation, we would die, okay? So I'm sure that an intelligent being would know that with all the variations we have on the planet, any of them could kill us. So we're going to have to be able to adapt to all of the diversity on this planet, you know, or just the diverse elements that we have. Everything about the air, the atmosphere, you know, the seas, everything. So basically, you'd start small and you'd work your way up and make them better and better and better. That would be growing a human. Now, evolution basically is adaptation, okay? And evolution is growth, okay? It's advancement, biological advancement, all right? So you'll have forced evolution in this way. This is basically forced evolution, where you're taking a few of the survivors, or maybe even one of the survivors, and you're using a surrogate mother, you know, that's carrying the nuclear DNA for a Cro-Magnon and the Neanderthal female, and you have a Cro-Magnon male and female that are being born, okay, and raised, okay. Maybe that would be Adam and Lilith. That would be maybe where Lilith comes into play. Why was she not subservient? Because she was grown and raised in an environment with Adam, okay? So she was like any other woman on the planet that's not going to be told what to do, okay? But if you create a synthetic woman like Eve, if say Lilith was banished because she wouldn't listen, because she was headstrong, all right? Now, if you have Eve, a synthetic human, you're basically creating and growing a human. Now, you can take stem cells, like from the rib or whatever, because the rib is ironically the only rib, the bone that grows back in the human body. And the bones contain stem cells. And stem cells are blank cells that you can program however you want. And you can grow organs and create a living being with stem cells, all right? So this is what I believe happened when it comes to God basically being a scientist, okay? Now, if Lilith was banished, you would grow a human using these stem cells, all right? Now, this human wouldn't be too smart because obviously it didn't grow and live in a normal family environment like Adam and Lilith did. So she was probably taught just enough to communicate, and that was it. And that was why she kept doing things that she shouldn't do. She was told not to do, you know. But I guess that's probably why she didn't listen, because she wasn't exactly that smart. I mean, think about it. I mean, you're growing a human, you know, and if you use some sort of, you know, age advancing, you know, something to make them age faster, or maybe even that wasn't used. Maybe even they were just she was raised and Adam was much older than her. But regardless, you can obviously see that you'd obviously know logically that if you make a human and they're not exactly taught a whole lot, they're not going to be that smart, and they're going to make mistakes, and that probably explains a lot of that. But there were still, say, all right, Lilith, Adam, Eve, then Adam and Eve had their children, and then you have all these Neanderthals on the planet, okay? That's enough to populate a whole planet with a new age of people. Basically, all those Neanderthals are going to end up being bred out.